Hey, Camosun International, thanks again for joining me. Another video of a local employer and who has devoted his time and energy to come speak to us today. Today, we have an amazing, really cool and interesting employer who I think you may not know about. But we have Brian Globas, who is a production service coordinator. And he is with the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission. So we are very excited to have him. Thank you, Brian, for joining us. It is our pleasure to have you here today and to share some really cool and exciting news about the film industry in Victoria.
Thanks, Dina. Thanks. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So maybe we'll start off a little bit. Let's just tell us, what is the film industry and what does that look like for Victoria?
Right. Well, the film industry in general covers film and television production, but also extends to, commercials and documentaries and animation and basically anything that involves moving images on a screen. So we call it the screen industry. So, the focus is mainly on movies and television because that's pretty much the largest part of the industry, but yeah, it's expanding all the time. So that's why we call ourselves Film and Media Commission, to sort of cover.
You're adapting with the times,
the expanding nature of this industry. So that name sort of captures, we hope, most of it.
So, that is awesome. Well, I, for one, am very excited because I personally love television. Growing up, my parents would always be like, stop staring at the TV. And I'm like, I get lost. I love getting lost in a good movie. And I think it's really exciting that there is opportunity in that career, especially now, which is really fantastic. So a lot of our international students may not know about the film industry in Victoria in general. So can we maybe chat about what that looks like in Victoria, some of the projects that you're allowed to share with us today that you've been working on?
Sure. Well, let me give you a little bit of context. So BC as a province is the third largest production center in North America. So after Los Angeles and New York, currently we're the next largest production center. Toronto's very close, and BC and Ontario often go back and forth. But for the past probably 40 or 50 years, BC has been a place to make movies. So in the province, about 3.2 billion, I think, was the last figure for the size of the industry and how much they spend here. So it's a major industry in the province. Now, Victoria, a lot of that industry is, of course, centered in Vancouver, but Victoria has a long history in film production that even some would say predates the Vancouver industry taking off. Some of the earliest films in BC were made right here in Victoria.
Wow.
So yeah, Victoria's always had a small and strong film industry. And last year we did about over $50 million worth of production in Victoria. Wow. So it's really dramatically increased in recent times.
That is really big. I had no idea it was so big. I mean, like you said, I do hear about filming in Vancouver. It's the bigger city, but we have some really great locations here too. Personally, I live downtown, and I often see, like the film crew in some of the heritage homes we have, or, we have beautiful nature here too. And I think, that's a nice component to add to some of the films that we've had. Is there any cool projects that you could share with us that maybe some of our students might know about or be aware of that were filmed in Victoria?
Yeah, well, I'll share with you some of the most recent ones, just because when they're finished filming, we can usually start talking about them.
Oh yes.
Secret. They just wrapped production on a major Netflix series here called Made. So have a look out for that if you're a fan of Orange is the New Black or Shameless, which were were very popular series. The creators of those series, they just finished this series here. Margot Robbie was an executive producer on it as well, I understand, and a lot of a lot of sort of big industry names involved. So that was a very exciting project. So I would everybody have a look out for that one. Twilight Zone, the new reboot of Twilight Zone, a lot of people know an episode was filmed here in Victoria, down in the Inner Harbor. What else do we have? Yeah, I mean, those are some of the big ones.
Yeah.
But we've had a few Netflix series here, a couple of kids series.
Okay. Maybe my niece and nephew might know some of them. Are they
Yeah,
like,
your niece and nephew are are they into puppy movies? Because there's
oh my God, I'm into puppy movies, so maybe I'll know it then.
yeah, Pup Star, Pup Academy, Scaredy
Oh,
Cats.
oh, I
They're-
love that. Love it. Are they out? Or I haven't seen them out. Are they out? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Scaredy Cats is out yet, but Pup Academy is definitely on Netflix right now.
Oh my gosh, you'll have to check it out and be like, hey, I know that location. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
recognize it. Wow,
Exactly.
those are some really great projects, and amazing that they have, some big names behind them. So it's nice to hear that, Victoria and BC is quite kind of a hot place to be for film. So that's really interesting. I really didn't know that, it goes back and forth with you said Ontario. I'm sorry, is that correct?
Yeah, Toronto and BC
Toronto.
are often very close as far as which one is busier, but both are very busy right now. But BC, I think, is still the third largest in North America.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, we do have some great weather all year round, so you could probably film here longer, right?
Yeah, see, these are all the selling points that we use when we're talking to productions. You could year-round film production. We're in the same time zone as LA. It's only a couple hour flight from LA. So
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah. And in your role as a production services coordinator, is that part of your role in getting out there, promoting BC and our locations?
that essentially is my role. So the film commissioner, is promoting this region to the film industry, and I work directly with the productions themselves to tell them about our locations, our crew, which is another big thing, the skilled people in the industry that work here and that they could hire. And then all the businesses and hotels and services that we have that you are necessary to host a film production of that size.
Wow, that's amazing. That sounds like a really fun job. It actually kind of sounds a lot like a recruitment job, which is what we do at Camosun. So that sounds really great. I love spreading the good word. So it's really exciting that you had that opportunity to share some of the beautiful aspects of Victoria. Speaking of jobs, and when we are looking at some of the opportunities in the film industry, can we maybe chat about some of job positions that someone could go into? And maybe before that, we should talk about, I think you and I talked off camera a little bit about, kind of getting your foot in the door and starting kind of at the base level. So maybe we can chat about that and what that means and some of the jobs following that could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the first point I like to always make is that the film industry covers such a wide variety of skills. And I didn't realize that when before I got in. You always think of the typical, the actors, the directors, and some of the creative, designer roles. But it really is an industry, and it takes a whole range of skills, whether it's administration or technical skills, financial skills, all those behind the scenes jobs that make the industry, operate, so that the creative people can do their work on the film set. So no matter what your skill set is, I pretty much guarantee you will find a job that fits your skill set. It's just a matter of finding out what those jobs are, because they're very specialized. It's a highly specialized industry where each job, has a specific function, and it may not look the same outside of the film industry at all, right? So it's a matter of learning what those jobs are, and then finding an entry level point of entry to that part of the industry.
Yeah, and I think when you and I chatted, and myself included, sometimes you don't even know what that entry point would be, right? So you don't even know how you get into that entry point. Is there any tips for that you could share before we get into the actual positions?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, here in Victoria, we deal mostly with physical production. And by that, I mean that productions will come here to do the filming. So their head offices aren't generally here. post-production editing, and it's not general here. So for the most part, we do physical production. So the entry level positions are going to be on the set, right? And the most typical entry level position that you'll see, that you hear about, is what they call a production assistant.
Right.
So
what does that mean?
What's that?
What's that mean? What's a production assistant?
What's a production assistant, or PA? PA is often, a lot of short form for the jobs in film, but a PA or a production assistant, there's a couple different kinds of production assistants, but a large number of them work on set in a department called locations, right? So you can imagine if a show like Twilight Zone is going to shut down Government Street and film it, take over the lawn of the Empress, they're going to need quite a few people to, physically make that happen. So, whether it's setting up, street closures and barriers, or directing traffic, or stopping people on the sidewalk while they're filming and then allowing them to move on, putting up tents, right, for the actors or the director to to be under while it's hot
raining, pouring, sunny.
Right. So essentially it's a traveling circus, right? A traveling event is what a film set is. So you need a lot of bodies and minds to make that happen. So PAs are they're the people on the front lines, right? They're the ones doing all that physical work to set up an event.
Wow, that sounds like a very busy job. Very you got to go with the flow kind of job. So
very much so. You have to think on your feet, and you show up early in the morning when the sun's rising, and you go home long after the sun's down. But you get to see all, from that position, you get to see all the different jobs that exist beyond production assistant, and often that's a starting place to be on set, see what's happening, and to figure out where your skills fit in.
And that's a great segue to our next kind of question about positions. And once you're there and you get to see what kind of positions there, let's talk a little bit about what are you going to see when you're there, when you are a PA? What kind of other positions can someone think about that are available that you may not necessarily think about in the film industry?
Right, exactly. So, good question. So if you're a PA on set, you're going to be in a department called the locations department. So even if you look around your own department, right, you're going to see other PAs. You'll see people that are supervising those PAs. So they're usually called key PAs. Then they move up to assistant location manager. So usually they're the person that's supervising all the PAs on set. There's also location scouts in the locations department, and then of course there's the location manager who is in charge of that, whatever location they're filming that day. Going beyond your department, there's all the technical trades, right? So we have lighting, we have a camera, so the people that to build and operate the cameras, and then we have a department called grip, which many people you'll see in the credits of the film, grip or best boy electric. I think they've taken the boy out now because they're trying to make it
neutral.
Yeah, better gender neutral. So, but anyway, you see these positions. A grip is essentially does all the mechanical work. So if it's not a light, if it's not specifically lighting, if all the other, rigging or, things to move the camera, tracks and dollies, and that's all in the grip department, right? So they're the sort of MacGyver magician mechanics basically on a film set.
That's really cool. So I actually like that because, you don't really know what other opportunities may lie, other than, set up, like you said, but there's a whole other world of, some positions where you may be. And so, we, like you said, IT and if you're kind of an engineer, and I think it's really great because some of our students coming into our programs, or maybe that are interested in the film industry, but they don't really know how to connect it, but they're interested. We have programs like visual arts where they do get to have some, arts and design aspects to it. Sounds like they could do that on a set, and makeup, you get to be creative. And I'm really liking that you mentioned IT because we have great technology diplomas, which allow you to kind of get more in the digital aspect. Or, you know, we do have technology programs, diploma programs in engineering. So it's really nice to hear that just because you're an expert in a field that's not necessarily film, you can still contribute those skills that you've learned and that you've acquired at Camosun and apply them to the film industry. And I, you know, you and I chatted a little bit before the interview about, you know, things like business. Like people don't even think, you know, business could be applied here, but it could, right? We, you know, we have accounting diplomas and bachelors and in marketing, and there's whole different kind of job opportunities there. So I was really happy to speak with you because I had no idea that you could apply so many different kind of backgrounds, specialties into a film industry. And yeah, this is just really great. And what about, so as a PA, you kind of get to learn the curves and you get to see what jobs are in positions on there. But you kind of have to be in it, right, to kind of get into those positions. So to get to that IT, you know, helping out with the lights and everything, you need to stick around for a while, right, to kind of build your way into that position.
Yeah, it does take time to build the experience and the contacts. We usually say most of the work is getting your first job in film. And, you know, for me, it took years to figure out how to get into the film industry. But it doesn't have to take that long, right? I mean, if I knew that places like the Film Commission existed, I would have gone and they could have, you know, we could explain it to you very quickly. But getting that first job on set does take some groundwork. There's courses you can take, there's certifications you can get that will help you, you know, will be attractive as a production assistant, for example, or if you're in the art department, you know, as a makeup assistant or hair or set decoration, whatever it is you're doing. Once you get that first show, once you've worked on one show, usually it just rolls from there, right? Because by the end of, you know, you've worked 2 months on a production or a month or 2 months with people 12 hours a day, you know them very well and they know your skills. So the next production that comes along, the chances are they're going to give you a call to hire you, right? So, but it's getting that, it's getting that first foot in the door that takes a little bit of perseverance. But we're more than willing to help people to get there, and we've helped lots of people make that first step.
And is there opportunities now? Say, so some of our students come in and they want to do some volunteer work, right? On a volunteer basis. Is there opportunity for them to come and say, Brian, I'm interested. Is there anything I can get into to help me kind of explore this area?
Yeah, if you're interested in volunteering on a film set, we'll usually direct you to a local organization. Like there's an organization called Cinevic, which is a society of independent filmmaking. So they rely a lot on volunteers, right? So these are you know, somewhat smaller productions as far as, you know, budget goes, but they still contain all the same skills that you'll find on a large production. So, and they often rely on volunteers in order to be able to, you know, produce their film and put it in a festival. So these are people that are building their career, right? And are very serious about film and TV. So that's where you can, you know, if you have time to volunteer, you can learn some basic skills, and that'll make you more attractive if you actually want to go out and work in the industry.
Absolutely. And if you've done the volunteer work, like you said, you're on set with people, you get to know them really well, they get to know you really well. And meanwhile, while you're, say, working with them, working or volunteering, and you're finishing, like, say, your program in arts and science with Camosun or IT at Camosun, and then they come to you and you get to know them, is that going to help them, that background of Camosun in the IT or, you know, business or arts, whatever that might be, is that going to help them with their, you know, overall resume, like, or appearance to, you know, to the film industry, to have them that next opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're at Camosun and you're a student looking for, you know, things to add to your resume, film is a great place to get that experience. And, you know, I think the industry is in general very open to working with students. On a large production, they don't usually have co-ops, but smaller productions, or maybe some local companies here in the film industry might be more than willing to take on a co-op student, because there's always, around a small production office, there's always lots of things to do that they would love to have a hand with, right? Whether it's organizing footage or, helping out with a production that they're working on. So I would say, yeah, it's definitely an avenue that if you have an interest in the industry, you should check out.
That's awesome. And I have to ask for myself, we chatted a little bit about this. Okay, my big dreams to be an extra. Yeah. I've told you kind of like when we chatted on the phone, I want to be an extra. I want to be in like a horror movie or something, screaming for my life while a monster chases me or something.
Very possible.
Is that okay? It is. Okay, it's possible. Okay, so there is an opportunity for that.
I've done it.
Have you? Okay.
My first experience in Victoria was running from a tornado.
See, you're living the dream for me.
An imaginary tornado, of course, but wearing a rain jacket and 2 buckets. I was running from a giant tornado.
What movie is this now? Because I kind of have to like spot you now. I'm like, hey, there's Brian.
It was called Stonados.
Stonados. I'm gonna write that one down. Stonados.
Yeah. People may not have heard of it. It was a science fiction kind of indie film that was. It's not really actually. It was. Anyway, it was produced here a couple of years ago, and Victoria Inner Harbor was supposed to be Boston.
Oh wow!
It was dubbed for Boston.
That's so cool. I'm really glad you said that, because honestly, it's what I've been wanting to do for a while. So you can. So there's opportunity there. It's just, even if you want to have a little fun, be an extra, right? And it's also a nice way to kind of see how the set goes and, different jobs that are out there on set and in the film industry. How did you, and like, so that was your kind of, was that your introduction to film and your breakthrough role almost? So you got a thing?
My claim to fame.
Yeah.
Well, I was involved in film for many years previously in Toronto before I moved here, but it was my first experience in film in Victoria. And my first experience on a large TV or film set. I had been on more sort of smaller productions. This was the first time I'd actually been on a, quote unquote, real film set. And so it was eye-opening. And it was fun.
Well, you obviously stuck around, right? Because here you are now at the commission. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I went on to work in production too. I worked in the camera department. So yeah, I've since then spent a good amount of time on sets, film sets. So it's totally doable. There's a few different ways. Sometimes productions will put out an ad for background actors. So there's, various places, sometimes just on Craigslist or in the newspaper. If a show is coming, they'll put an ad in. Other times they'll let us know and we'll post something on our Facebook page, looking for background.
And what's your Facebook page? Is it Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission?
Yeah.
Just the full name? Okay.
That's it. You can see my little over here. Oh,
yeah.
Over here. There you go.
Yeah.
You look for us on Facebook. If we ever get background casting calls, we always post them on our site. But the majority of background actors come from agencies. So there'll be agencies that provide background performers, and there is one local agency called Cultish Management that does work with background performers. There's also an online service called BCF Casting. So you can go on there, you can put your photo up, put all your contact when you're available, and they'll just contact you when there's when there's a show, and they'll say, can you show up? Can you bring these 3 different changes of clothing? And away you go. Yeah.
That is really cool. Well, I'm kind of putting my name towards it now with you. I'm gonna be like, look, I know Brian from the commission.
I hope that will help.
We did a YouTube video together. And maybe that'll help my portfolio a little bit. Well, honestly, I'm so excited to hear such great opportunities in Victoria for film. Again, I didn't actually know it was so huge. So in so many different kind of avenues you can go down to get there and your backgrounds. And I'm so excited for our students to know this information because like you said, sometimes it may not know how to access this and, you know, what's the next step. So it is truly my pleasure to have you speak with me today. Thank you so much for joining me today, and your knowledge and your experience in the film industry, and sharing some cool projects that are wrapped up. And we look forward to knowing what else is in the works, but we'll keep that under wraps. Is that how you guys say it for now? I'm trying to be cool and use all these terms I don't know much. But
lingo.
Right? That's okay. I'll learn. I'll Google it. But thank you so much, Brian, for your time. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you for fitting us into your schedule today, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon.
Great. Thanks for having me. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the Commission. Our website is filmvictoria.com, and we're happy to answer any questions about the local industry.
Great. Thanks so much, Brian. Take care.
Thanks, Nina. Bye now.